So let's come to sit. Perhaps on the edge of a blanket or 2 blankets or a block. Maybe I'll close that. I don't know if the sun is, I mean, why would the sun be bad? The sun couldn't possibly be bad. When I was first opening Wake Up Yoga, I had to go through the neighborhood in Fairmount and get people to sign a petition to get me a zoning variance. And people kept saying, oh, wait, you're the yoga lady. You're the, wait, you're doing, what is it? You're doing morning yoga? You're doing, is it what? It's sunshine yoga? I was like, no, it's wake up yoga. You could wake up right now. So go ahead and let's all wake up together. Go ahead and close your eyes. You can have your palms turned down. That might help you ground and contain. Or turn your palms up. That might help you expand and open. Sometimes I do both. Open with the right hand or the left hand, or whew. Connect with your breath. Connect with the silence and the stillness that are the truth of who you are. The silence from which all sound, all vibration emanates. The stillness from which all movement arises. Sometimes it's astonishing to try to reflect on who I was before I found yoga. I'll invite you to possibly join me in that exploration. Who were you before you found the practice? Perhaps reflect on all of the transformations you have been through, continue to move through. Bring your hands into prayer, lift your heart, bow your head. Launching into the practice with this feeling of just profound gratitude, astonishment and awe. To have found this practice at all, that this practice exists, that there have been teachers through the millennia handing down wisdom and experience. All in an effort to end suffering, to spread beauty, to awaken human beings to the miracle of their lives exactly as they are, the miracle of this existence. And so with gratitude, with a sense of reverence, let's join our voices. Join me if you like. We'll chant the sound of Om together. We'll do 3 times. Chanting on Zoom is weird. You could hum along. You could belt it out. Feel how it rises, is sustained, and falls. And feel how the silence is everywhere throughout the chant. Let's inhale. Go ahead and release your hands down. Let's climb into a heart bench, which of course requires 2 blocks. I didn't get to check with everyone before class started, so I don't know if you all have 2 blocks. If you don't have 2 blocks, I'm going to show you a way you could set yourself up in something similar using just a blanket. If you do have 2 blocks, one of the blocks goes on the tallest height, and that will support the base of your skull. As much as possible, get the chin to nestle in toward the notch of the throat. The other block will be on the narrow side or the narrow sides, and will support your ribby spine. If you have just a blanket, you could take the blanket and roll it up into something of like a long noodle, like a swimming pool noodle, perhaps. And then lay back on the blanket, letting the long end of it tuck under your head. And if you don't have 2 blocks or a blanket, it's okay also. You can lay on the floor and bring the soles of your feet to touch. Let your palms face the sky. Inhale and receive the breath deeply. Exhale and sigh. Landing where you are. Which is so funny because it's the only place you've ever been. The only place you've ever been is here. The only time it's ever been is now. It's astonishing to realize all of the resistance we might have to this here and now, imagining we could be somewhere else. It's hard to say which is a favorite poem. It's hard to say which is a favorite collection, so maybe we don't need favorites. We don't need a favorite. The Book of Hours by Rilke is one of my favorite collections. I've read many of these poems many times. It's a really beautiful exploration. It's in 3 chapters, and in this collection, Rilke assumes the identity of a monk who has gone into a monastery on a quest to discover the divine. And in the beginning, he's imagining that what he's seeking is far outside of himself. He feels humbled and unworthy, and he's working it out. And then ultimately, perhaps he discovers that what he has been seeking is within him, has been within him the whole time, has never been separate from himself. This is so much, I feel, what the path of yoga is showing us. In one of the poems, he wrote, "You see, I want a lot. Maybe I want it all. The darkness of each endless fall, the shimmering light of each ascent. So many are alive who don't seem to care. Casual, easy, they move in the world as though untouched. But you," and here he's speaking to the imaginary divine that he's seeking outside of himself. He says, "But you take pleasure in the faces of those who know they thirst. You cherish those who grip you for survival. You are not dead yet. It's not too late to open your depths by plunging into them and drink in the life that reveals itself quietly there. And that is what yin yoga is, plunging into the depths of yourself, daring, allowing yourself to feel, strengthening your own container so you have the capacity to feel, so you can actually hold it. Sometimes the feelings are so immense, we just know we're going to crack. We can't hold it, we can't contain it, just like an ungrounded wire we call a live wire, it will short circuit. So you come here, you come to your mat, and you continuously increase your ability to hold, to contain. Just a few more breaths here. Let's inhale and exhale. Do whatever you like with your legs. Bring your arms alongside your body. Press down your palms, tuck your chin, and make your way up towards sitting. Bring your feet to the ground and let yourself round forward. You might hold on to your feet. You might rub your calves or caress the backs of your knees or your thighs. You might hold on to your forearms or your elbows and tuck your chin. Cultivating a tremendous fondness for yourself. Letting yourself cherish your exquisite body. Go ahead and sit up and let's come through hands and knees. If you have 2 blocks, bring them with you toward the top of your mat. If you don't have 2 blocks, but you have a blanket or a couple of blankets, you could use those. I kind of like this feeling with 2 blankets or a bolster. If you want, you could just have your forearms on the mat and allow your armpits to open. If you don't have any extra supports, you can do what we often call anahatasana or heart chakra pose. So your hips stay above your knees and your arms come forward. You let your heart melt toward the ground. If you have blocks, the blocks can be any height, small, medium, or tall. You'll bring your elbows to the edge of the block that's closer to you. Your hands could stay forward, your knees come back, your armpits open. You could bring the prayer hands to the back of your neck and let your chest really open toward the floor, toward the ground. Remember that everyone in class with you today wants you to have a good experience. If you have a question, feel supported by everyone who is practicing with you. Feel supported that they would want you to get your question answered. If you don't feel comfortable turning on your microphone and speaking it, please send me, you can send a message on Zoom. If you see me looking at my phone, I'm either keeping time or looking for a poem. The lung, the heart, and the pericardium meridians run through the front of the arms. They start in the torso and travel outward. through all of our time together, you all know that these meridians are believed to direct an even flow of vitality, of prana, to different organs. And that these organs or these meridians also rule over emotions. And it's so beautiful to come to a practice that acknowledges that you are an emotional being, as well as physical and energetic and supremely wise. That you don't need to shun your emotions. You don't need to even understand them. You need to feel them and maybe glean their messages, maybe unpack what they are hoping to share with you. So the long meridian is said to rule over grief. And grief is the natural human response to loss. And in a world of impermanence, we have to reconcile the reality that we will lose everything we love. The Yoga Sutras say that the one established in wisdom knows that both pleasure and pain bring pain. The pain is because things don't last, because of impermanence, because things change and we change. The building blocks of reality are continuously shifting. So so then if we don't dare love, then our lives have no meaning at all. So what a situation we're in. To open your heart and love as fiercely as you can, knowing it won't last. It's not designed to last. I used to believe that since it doesn't last, it wasn't quote unquote real, and then therefore it wasn't worthy of my true love. I was aiming for that which is eternal. But I think you only reach the eternal by moving through and embracing the temporary. It's so special and so precious because it won't last. And it's shocking, it's always shocking, the end is shocking. My meditation teacher, many of you have studied with Michael Carroll as well. He says that they say, those who claim to know, say that the ultimate end, the moment of your death, whenever it does arrive, it always feels like it's too soon. Mary Oliver says in the poem, The Summer Day, she says, and doesn't everything die at last and always too soon? Tell me, what is it you want to do with your one wild, precious life? All right, let's inhale here. Feel it fully. Exhale, sigh. Put all the sound you want. Groan, growl, grimace, grunt. Scream, groan. Go ahead and walk your knees closer to the blocks or enough that you can get your elbows off of whatever supports them, and then choose to sit on your heels or choose to come to child's pose. Let's go ahead and from hands and knees, step the right foot forward and get the top of the left thigh to drop. Everyone's favorite pose. That was a joke. You could rest a blanket underneath your left shin. So if your knee is sensitive, you could cushion under the knee, which would make it a softer landing, or you could actually place the the support under your shin so your knee doesn't take any weight at all. I've often joked that I'm on the scenic route to enlightenment because that took me like 10 years to figure out that I could support so that my knee doesn't take any weight. If you have the support there, it probably won't be easy to bend the back knee. So if you want to bend the back knee and take hold of that foot with either hand, you can do that. You might walk your right foot in a little closer to your body so that your heel lifts up. And just to remind you, your hands might be framing the front foot, or they might both be on the inside of the front foot. The blocks can be any height. Your head can drop back or drop forward. Position yourself so you feel it where you're supposed to feel it. That's the number one guiding principle in yin yoga. It's less about looking a certain way inside of the shape and more about feeling it where you're supposed to feel it. So here you want to feel it in the top of the left thigh, somewhere in the thigh, into the hip flexor. Relax your jaw, soften your eyes. Relax your tongue. I felt inspired to find in Blackwater Woods. Mary Oliver wrote, "Look, the trees are turning their own bodies into pillars of light, are giving off the rich fragrance of cinnamon and fulfillment. The long tapers of cattails are bursting and floating away over the blue shoulders of the ponds. And every pond, no matter what its name is nameless now. Every year, everything I have ever learned in my lifetime leads me back to this: the fires and the black river of loss, whose other side is salvation, whose meaning none of us will ever know. To live in this world, you must be able to do 3 things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go." Relax your jaw, maybe you sink a little more. If anyone's inclined to, you could take, for me, I would take the left hand. You could turn the left hand forward over the edge of your block and maybe kind of put a little lean into it to get a stretch, maybe through the underside of the wrist. Whew. Relax your shoulders, soften your tongue. There's such an immediacy to this pose. Watch what your mind tries to do. It's like I don't know about you, my mind sometimes is a firefly. I saw my first fireflies 2 nights ago. First for the year, not in my life. I'm imagining you're laughing. But the mind often wants to avoid the present moment, thinking it has a choice. Over and over, we're learning in yoga to embrace the present moment. Which is so funny. It's so funny that that is a skill we have to learn, because the truth of the matter is you don't really even have a choice. Soft jaw, soft eyes, soft tongue. Deep and full breath. Maybe you can sink a little bit more. Last couple of breaths here. Inhale as deeply as you can. Feel the breath as if it travels from the center of your body through the periphery. At the top of the inhale, if it feels okay, pause for a moment. Really hold that fullness. And then exhale, let it go. Go ahead and draw your hips back. You can slide that right foot a little forward and roll the ankle. Squeeze the toes. Maybe hinge over your leg. Relax your shoulders, your tongue, your jaw. And let's go ahead and move into sleeping swan, if that works for you. And I know some of you have other choices. I'll review those in just a moment. You can get some weight on this right foot. Walk the right foot toward the left wrist, so the shin, the ankle, and the knee come to the ground. The left toes tuck and the left leg goes longer behind you. I should close this window. This is meant to target your outer hip, but not your knee. Some people like to take the back knee, that would be the left one, and move it out to the side. I'll turn sideways. So that instead of coming forward over the leg, you could come more toward like the right foot. The left knee might bend, and that could just be easier. If anyone wants to lay on the back instead and cross the right ankle onto the left knee, that's always an option, of course. If you have come into sleeping swan and you want to, you could kind of come up onto your hands for a moment, bring the left arm behind, the right arm in front, and walk your hands to opposite sides. Release your head down. If the throat on the arm doesn't feel good, you could rest a block or a blanket underneath your forehead. And this is a way to incorporate a little bit of a shoulder opener, a shoulder gesture. Gorgeous, lovely. Another one from the Book of Hours. I'm too alone in the world, yet not alone enough to make each hour holy. I'm too small in the world, yet not small enough to be simply in your presence, like a thing, just as it is. I want to know my own will and to move with it. And I want, in the hushed moments when the nameless draws near, to be among the wise ones or alone. I want to mirror your immensity. I want never to be too weak or too old to bear the heavy, lurching image of you. I want to unfold. Let no place in me hold itself closed, for where I am closed, I am false. I want to stay clear in your sight. That could be a mantra all day long. I want to unfold. Let no place in me hold itself closed. For where I am closed, I am false. Maybe that's what we're doing, is opening up to ourselves. Daring to see, daring to feel. What a dare to be fully human. Soft face, soft jaw, easy tongue, easy shoulders. Drinking in the life that quietly reveals itself. See if there's a little more sinking you can allow. Maybe a longer exhalation. Oh, Felicia just lifted her hands and gave herself a little pat on the shoulders. If you want to do that, you might want to just rub yourself. We'll inhale here and exhale, sigh. Lift your head. If your arms are crossed, slip your hands back to their respective sides. A little wiggle or figure eight or jellyfish of the shoulders might be good. Nice, lovely. You can put some sass into it if you like. And then make your way onto hands and knees, maybe into downward facing dog, maybe through a vinyasa or into child's pose. You could simply stretch the right leg back, whatever helps you feel good, whatever helps you feel good. I see a kitty cat face too, real close to the screen. Oh. And when you're ready, sit for a moment, maybe in Vajrasana, sitting on your heels, just to feel it. This ability to feel, we take so much for granted. Go ahead and step your left foot forward. We'll practice dragon pose. Maybe you have your hands framing the front foot. Maybe you have both hands on the inside of the front foot. Maybe you have a support under the right shin. You might reach for that foot with one hand or the other. The blocks could be any height. You could roll your head a little bit side to side. All of these options are meant to take you deeper into the pose, not distract you and keep you on the surface. So make the choices that help you really, really sink, really come to know your own experience. This feeling, I love that we have this word feeling, and we use it to describe a whole bunch of things. Like physical sensation. You feel the pressure of clothing on your skin. One book I was reading says that we have like 32 sensory perceptions. It was suggesting that the feeling of sunlight on your skin is not the same as touch. Or like, you got one of those shivers that goes through your body, that is its own perception, its own sensation. You good, Gail? Yeah, sinking the top of the right thigh, left foot is forward. We use the word feeling to talk about something like a pulse, which isn't exactly touch. A shiver has a feeling, but it's different from touch. We use the word feeling when we talk about our emotions. If you really look at your thoughts, the things that you think are reasonable or analytic, you could actually recognize that your thoughts have a particular feeling as well. This thought might be more bitter, or this thought might be more sweet. We use the word feeling to talk about intuition. Like, oh, I had a feeling that was going to happen. And so it seems to me that feeling is happening on all of our levels of being. And I believe that feeling is the language of the body, the secret language of the body. Just as we have afferent nerve signals and efferent nerve signals, one of them goes from the periphery to the center so that the brain can know what's happening. The other comes from the brain and goes out to the periphery. So afferent and efferent. I think we have the same with sensation. There's some sensation that comes to us from the outside world so that the brain, the body, the being can interpret. And then there are ones that come from the inside that are in response. So I believe we could all become connoisseurs of sensation and start to decode this secret language of the body. It's been said that it is impossible to have an emotion without a corresponding physical sensation. That emotions are energy and motion. So what are your feelings trying to communicate? What do you feel here? Sometimes for me, feeling is such a watery realm. I've been afraid I might drown in it. So I might pole vault to logic and reason, as if I could stay safe by separating myself from what I feel. Relax your jaw. Think a little more. I hope I'm not talking too much. So in just a moment, you'll inhale as deeply as you can, almost like you're breathing from the center of your body out to the periphery. And at the top of that inhale, pause for a couple of beats. Feel that fullness. And when you're ready, exhale, let the breath seep out. If you want, at the bottom of the exhale, pause, feel that vastness. And when you're ready, draw your hips back. You can slide the foot forward, roll the ankle, and hinge over the leg. Becoming more and more acquainted with how you feel, all of the different ways that you feel. Maybe the richness of your life is revealed through feelings, not so much analysis, reason. Get some weight on the left foot. If it's right for you, walk the left foot toward the right wrist, so the shin, the ankle, and the knee can ground. If it's better to bend the right knee out to the side, you might direct your torso to the right a little bit so that your chest moves over your left foot. If going to the wall or otherwise stacking your left ankle onto your right knee is appropriate, do that. If you're folding forward and sleeping swan and you did on the other side, I would recommend sliding the right hand behind the left, right arm behind left arm, and letting your head droop down from there. Does anyone need extra anything? Sue, are you good? Susan? Sue Frostine, yeah? Okay. So I don't know if this is my favorite poem. It's up there. It's also from the Book of Hours. And in this one, he's writing to a younger brother. He sees a younger monk going through many of the same challenges he went through. He wants to offer some counsel. So he says, to that younger brother, now pray. As I, who came back from the same confusion, learned to pray. I returned to paint upon the altars those old holy forms, but they shone differently now, fierce in their beauty. So now my prayer is this: you, my own deep soul, trust me, I will not betray you. My blood is alive with many voices telling me I am made of longing. What mystery breaks over me now? In its shadow, I come into life. For the first time, I am alone with you. You, my power to feel. They say that the eyes are the vehicle for seeing, but the eyes aren't what's seeing. Consciousness is seeing. The tongue, the vehicle for taste. But there's something deeper that is offering the experience. Fueling the experience. And I think also having the experience. A recent discovery, and it's just so obvious. I'm sure you do this too. You make discoveries and you make the same discovery, but you understand it deeper. And then it's so obvious, but you get it on, I don't know, different levels. Putting language to the fact that feelings aren't reasonable and are not in any way bound to the laws of logic or reason was incredibly liberating to me. My feelings don't have to be logical. In fact, what I think is so charming is that we use in our language, in English, we use the word, we say, oh, that makes sense to me. And we imagine, we think we're saying, oh, that's logical. But sense implies senses, implies sensation, implies what we know through our body. So when we say that makes sense to me, what we really mean is that it vibes with what I know in my body. We say, come back to your senses, man. So what do you know in your own body? Inhale here and exhale here. Lift your head if your arms are crossed. Slide your elbows to opposite sides. Plant your hands, roll your shoulders, turn your head. Make your way to maybe hands and knees. Drive your left heel back. Maybe downward dog, pedal at your feet. Run through a vinyasa if that would feel delicious. Pop into a handstand if I don't really mean it, but there's no reason not to. Yeah, gorgeous. Whatever feels lovely, lovely, lovely. And then come to sit for a moment where you can feel. I'd love to offer something for the inner thighs. So that might be a wide angle forward bend. You could sit on the edge of a blanket. If your knees are quite elevated, you could slide a rolled up blanket under your knees, or even keep them bent. Keep your heels on the ground. If it's better for you to bring the soles of your feet to touch, to fold forward, that's an option. Probably heels in really close to your pelvic floor. Some people love to do like a wide angle child's pose. So you could get your knees wide, maybe your toes touch and come forward. Some of you love to go to the wall or the couch, in which case you could imagine like a caution horse that you would see blocking a street. You could make your legs like a caution horse, like you could have your thighs be straight across, shin distance from the wall. If you need more suggestions than that, please let me know. Here's another one of those discoveries that are so obvious and so profound, so easy to miss, and for me, incredibly liberating. Like tearing off the shackles of propriety. Dismissing the idea that you should, quote unquote, should be some other way than you are. Simple, so obvious. No one in all time ever will ever have your experience of life. You are the only one who will ever know what it's like to be you. You can share your experiences, others will share theirs, you'll arrive at points of resonance. You'll feel wildly baffled. But the way life is unfolding for you is so intimate to you. No one else ever. We'll share anguish for sure. We all experience many of the quote unquote same things, and yet the way it happens for you is unique. Maybe the greatest honor we can give our lives, the greatest respect we can show toward this unspeakable gift is to be present for our lives in the moment. Eat it up. Whether you like it or not is so irrelevant. To me, it seems irrelevant. Preference seems so small. Mm. Probably her most famous poem. I'm going to say it's her most famous poem. Mary Oliver wrote Wild Geese. Yeah, I can hear the applause, even with the microphones muted. She wrote, "You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things." Inhale here. Exhale, sigh. Walk your hands back in, or if you're at the wall, use your hands if that's helpful to lift your legs back up. Pause for a moment, feel it all. Notice how there's one thing that you feel so obviously, and you can feel that and then spread your awareness out to feel something else that's equally true, but maybe not amplified. Discover that we amplify whatever we give our attention to, and you have choices in every single moment what you give your attention to. Go ahead and use your hands if your legs are wide. Use your hands to bring them in. Let's extend both legs long. We'll fold forward in a pose that has gotten the name caterpillar pose in yin yoga. You might sit on the edge of a blanket. If your knees are lifted, you might slide your hands, your elbows or wrists underneath, or place a blanket or t-shirt. Don't flex, extend, you might lengthen for just a moment, and then tuck your chin and let yourself round forward. I made 2 Instagram posts this morning, so if you're not on that platform. The first one was in response to a post we'll share all week, I think, that this is the last week of classes for Wake Up Yoga. And it's possible that there'll be some pop-up Wake Up Yogas happening in the future. We'll see how it unfolds. But in this one post, I went on to say, pop in on as many classes as you can. In the future, we'll all look back and realize how wild, earnest, beautiful, and fortunate we all were. People will say, astonished and awed, really? You were there? What was it like? And since no words will ever capture the feeling, you'll just close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and feel the enormity within. Maybe you continue to reflect upon the journey you've traveled, whether you met Wake Up Yoga within just the last month or two, or you've been walking with us for as many as 18 years. And recognize that even the profound heartache, the anguish, maybe the bitterness or the rage, that the fullness of your experience it's unspeakably gorgeous. From that vantage point, you might be able to perceive your own innocence, your own purity, your earnestness, your goodness. My mom once remarked she often struggled with her weight. She has often struggled with her weight. And at one point, she says, I look back at the clothes that no longer fit me, and I can't believe I ever was disappointed with myself. My grandmother, this is one of my favorite, most poignant stories ever. When my grandmother was in hospice, she was so sparkly. My grandmother, she was a nightclub entertainer. She was a star. She wore gold lame and false eyelashes, and she was amazing. But toward the end of her life, as she was looking through photo albums, I might cry. Looking at photo albums of her life, she said out loud, she said, I never realized how beautiful I was. So maybe you can just reflect back on your journey and see how beautiful you have always been. Inhale here and exhale. Use your hands to help lift yourself up. Pause for a moment. Reach for a tissue. It might be nice to bend your knees and like windshield wiper back and forth. I love this. I'm going to turn away just so it's clear. The next time you bring your knees to the left, no, the right, knees to the right, bring your left hand around and come toward the back of your mat. So maybe you just walk your hands away, maybe your elbows bend, maybe you rest your forehead on your hand. A little twist, you might feel it in your low back, might feel it in your outer hips. Not for duration of time, but a couple of breaths. And then go ahead and come back up. Windshield wiper your knees a few times. And then when they fall to the left, bring your right arm around. Come toward the back of your mat. Bend your elbows, walk. Maybe your forehead finds your hands. Go ahead and come back to center. Make your way down onto your back. You can draw your knees into your belly if that feels good. Rock a little bit side to side. Doesn't everything end at last and always too soon? Hug your knees in and rock a little bit. And as you're ready, make your way into shavasana. Putting on all the layers. Nestling in, let it be a treat. Like you're tucking a toddler, putting a toddler down for a nap. Or all the care you might bestow upon an elderly loved one. Such a beautiful possibility to be that tender with yourself, that kind to yourself. Oh. Inhale and receive the breath very deeply. Fill up all the way, tip to tip. Exhale. Like you're playing a game of trust. Let the front of the body fall into the back body. So grateful to be caught. Playing a game of trust, the back of your body falls into the earth. And recognize that it's not just that you drop down into the earth, but at the same time, simultaneously, the earth is actually rising up to hold you. That in a very real way, you have the entire planet beneath you. You might start to feel the gravity as the embrace of Mother Earth. Realizing that you are so precious to her, she is unwilling to let you go. And falling into that tender embrace, you know you can lay down any burden you've been carrying. The earth, she can carry that for you too. And as you sink down, open your awareness to the vast expanse of sky that surrounds you. Believe you are beloved to the sun. Rooted for, cherished by, looked over by the planets and the stars. Know that the moon is your constant companion, whether visible or not. Feel yourself befriended by the birds, the rivers, the fish, the trees and mountains. Knowing you have a kinship with rose bushes and snails, ladybugs, and even mosquitoes. That your existence is arising with all of phenomena. that you belong here as much as does an oak tree. That you could never be apart from, that you are intrinsically a part of the totality. Imagining you could rest, you are resting in the palm of the universe. Allow yourself to let go. Sometimes it's harder to let go when you're at home. Notice if that's true and let yourself sink a little bit more. As a lullaby, I'll read you this piece. You have been telling the people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour. And there are things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? Are you in right relation? Where is your water? Know your garden. It is time to speak your truth. Create your community. Be good to each other. And do not look outside of yourself for the leader. Then he clasped his hands together, smiled, and said, "This could be a good time. There is a river flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel they are torn apart and will suffer greatly. Know that the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, keep our eyes open and our heads above water. And I say, see who is in there with you and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. The time for the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Feel it. Feel the next breath. Feel as much of it as you can. Notice where your awareness goes naturally. Feel that. And then spread awareness out. Discover what else could be felt, what else could be known. Feel the enormity, the fullness. Bend your knees, roll into a little ball on your right side. Curl in, curl up. Give yourself a hug. Kiss any body parts that are within lip reach, elbows, knees. Love yourself up. And build your way back up to sitting. Returning to a comfortable cross-legged position. I'm just going to read this. Hope you don't mind. This was the other post on the platforms. I wrote it sinking in. Wake up yoga is ending. Even when you know it's the right thing, it still hurts. It's devastating, actually. And I'm excited for whatever is on the other side of this, wow, whoa, I've invested the best of me in this entity. For more than 18 years, I have learned and grown so much. I have been softened and tenderized, cracked open and stitched back together. I have made gigantic mistakes, inadvertently hurt people when I didn't understand the dynamics, did everything I could think of to make amends and not make the same mistakes again. There seems to be no shortage of future mistakes. And I know I've helped people heal, created and held space for people to get strong and resilient and to thrive in their actual lives rather than postpone their happiness questing after some utopian ideal. People have made lifelong friends at Wake Up Yoga. Marriages have formed and babies have been born. Wake Up Yoga has been my purpose, my dream, my non-boastful pride. It has fueled me and depleted me, inspired me and imprisoned me. The COVID-19 pandemic staved off the ending and maybe softened the blow, but here we are, ready, set, yoga. Not exactly ready to say goodbye, but facing it nonetheless. Bring your hands into prayer, lift your heart, bow your head. Oh, thank you so much for coming here. I'm going to figure out how to send you all an email so you can keep practicing with me. I have every intention. I've been teaching this class since 2004. Imagine how young I was then. If you'd like to join me in chanting the sound of Om one time, so if Om is Ah, U, and silence, representing past, present, future, and timelessness, or beginning, middle, and end, and that which is eternal, this final Om is honoring the eternity that supports the impermanence. Let's inhale together. Drift your arms around behind you. Your right hand encircles your left wrist. Your left thumb and forefinger touch. Beam your heart to the sun, knowing that the light comes from within. And exhale, bow forward, sealing in your practice.